players, the personalities who come from around the world to play professional soccer in the United States.
Go, go, USA! Oh, it's incredible!
In a world where some call it football, football, or soccer, they dare to call it foosball. One thinks New York is blue. The other thinks New York is red. Soccer in America from a German perspective. Let them put some sauerkraut on your hot dog and join them for the Schnitzel Boys USA Hour.
Yes. Good evening. By now you know the drill. Stefan's seemingly endless Germany trip continues. So it's just me here on a Monday night. But Hans is here, and hello to all of you. We're here for the USA Hour. A lot going on. MLS playoffs, another new format. It's every year is brand new with this league. We're reinventing the wheel. Any chance we get. But my team's out, so I just get to sit back and relax and enjoy the show. And there is a lot of show. Anyway, we talk about that. We talk about the goings on in Germany. He's getting a lot of soccer, like get a lot of foosball in on his trip. But let's hear from him, from the man himself. Here he is, Stefan Schnitzel, coming up. Hello.
Hello.
This is the last week, yes, of your fine journey? No?
This is the last week of my journey. That's correct.
Okay. So we will be
100% correct.
Back in Los Angeles. You are in, well, you tell us where you are.
I am in Munich, Germany, or München.
Germany, München, yes.
Star des Südens, Star of the South. Stern des Südens.
The Northern California of Germany.
The Northern California of Germany. I've been here for about a week now. I came about a week ago. I've been seeing all this. I was here once before, at least once, like when I was like 13 years ago or something, or maybe even before then. And I remember being here for about a day or two. But now I'm spending some real time here, and it's nice. It's nice to spend time here. What I will say, though, is between LA, New York, Amsterdam, and now Munich, all the cities start to blend together a little bit. Like Munich, like I went to Germany, last week I was up on the Baltic Sea, little German town, and I didn't realize how much German character it had up there until I came down here. And I realized it's like Thai food and burger places and Indian places and Chinese places. And a lot of English is in the air. A lot of stores have like English writing on it. And
Munich is a more worldly town. Yeah,
it's like an international city with a German twist. And also all the old stuff here. I'm really partaking. There's plenty of German stuff here. I'm finding it. I'm going to, and all the German stuff in Munich is where all the tourists are.
They have plenty of German stuff in Germany.
You got to find, in Munich, you got to find it. And you know what's funny about it? It's me and a bunch of other American tourists there. Germans they have nothing to do with it. They don't want
it. The Germans want to eat burgers and speak English.
They're off the Thai place. They're off eating burgers at the Thai place, 100%. And the old Americans are there looking at the old brew houses. But I have drank every of Munich's 6 brews from a brewery.
Okay, what's the word?
They're all delicious. And you know what my winner is, by the way? Paulaner.
Okay.
Paulaner, which happens to be the official brew of Bayern
München.
We'll talk about more of that in another hour. But I just want to say I thought it was funny. But I went to a little town today to get that German charm, and I got that German charm, and it was lovely. And I got ice cream, and it was lovely. But going back to Munich again, Munich's so interesting. It's a beautiful city, and Munich was ruled by one of my favorite kings of all time, Ludwig II.
You have a favorite king of all time?
Crazy King Ludwig. You know Ludwig II?
I mean, yeah, I know of him. I don't rank. I don't have a personal ranking of kings. I don't know where he ranks in my. But yeah, sure, okay.
For me, it's pretty high up.
It's my mother. My mother's a royalist. My mother loves, she loves keeping up with all the royals, past and present. I guess more present than past. She would like there to be a king. She loves but anyway, please
In
go
Germany,
ahead.
again, that's probably more for the other hour, but I'd love to talk about it more. But he was essentially they travel all over, and everything royal in Munich is an homage to something nicer. Munich has like a Greek area, and it's an homage to nicer buildings in Greece. Then he builds a summer palace, which is an homage to Versailles, right? But Versailles is nicer. Then he builds this other palace, which is an homage of the French, another French style, or a lot of homages to the Italian style, the Renaissance style. Everything in Munich was like copied what they thought was better somewhere else. So Munich's full of all these old buildings that are the second best versions of where you can go somewhere else and find better versions of.
It's like Disneyland. It's like the Disneyland of old.
Yeah, it's like royal.
It's like Epcot Center. It's like Epcot Center of the 1800s.
Yeah, and then there's a big modern Starbucks and a McDonald's right next to it.
So you can have it all. You can have it all in Munich.
But I'm having a good time. I'm really enjoying myself here.
Very good.
I'm eating like a king. As you know, I have paused from my vegetarianism.
I hope we were not too mean about your eating last week in your absence. I hope we did not.
Well, I'm wearing pants, and I have so much stuff I want to talk about food wise, but I'm going to abstain.
We're gonna do that.
Because you guys don't want to hear it, I guess. There was one thing I did today, and I have to share with you guys. I went to Austria today for lunch. I was in Austria today for lunch.
Very nice.
Because I was at Germany's highest peak, and I saw a sign being like, Tirol, 1 minute this way. So I'm like, Tirol? Hell yeah, let's do it. So I walked over to Tirol, and then I was at the Zugspitze. Have you ever done that? Have you ever done that one?
Yeah, I've been up there. I've skied on top of this Zugspitze. It was it was really foggy. I went up there one time. It was really foggy, so I don't really feel like I've seen it because it was like kind of a
There's fog everywhere.
Yeah, I couldn't really see anything, but I was there. Yeah.
It's so for the listeners, it's Germany's highest peak. It's like our
which
Mount
is
Everest.
Not saying much.
Yeah, I think the one in Switzerland's higher, but anyway,
even though we think of Germany as like a mountainous country, especially here, you think because you're thinking of the Sound of Music
Alps,
or whatever,
yeah.
The Alps, but the Alps in Germany are pretty modest compared to Austria and Switzerland and France and Italy. Really, any other country has bigger mountains than Germany. Yeah.
I was surprised how I could just hop on a train station and then before you know it, I'm just at the top of Germany's highest peak.
Yeah. Well, there's this old school kind of, what is that even called? This like it's like a
you know what it's called? It's one of those weird mistranslations. Not a mistranslation, but I'm sure there's some sort of proper translation. They call it a cogwheel train.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't 100% know what they call it in German. It's a 90-year-old cogwheel train. The story
they have a similar one in New Hampshire to Mount Washington.
Is it called a cogwheel train?
You keep talking. I will.
Well, anyway, they drilled a hole in the mountain the way a dentist drills into a tooth, and literally this train goes into the mountain and up. It's very cool. It's 90 years ago. It was built for the Olympics because in this area near it's called Garmische Partenkirchen was an Olympic. The president in the 1930s, his name escapes me at the moment. German president told him to merge the two towns so they can host the 1936 Olympics, which they did, and they did. And they have a lot of like Olympic centers around there, like it's a good skiing spot and stuff. But there's a train that literally goes inside the mountain. So for a good half an hour or so, you're like in the thinnest little drilled in mountain tunnel I've ever been in. And boom, they spit you up there.
Yeah.
And you take a cable car to a glacier where there's a church, a little church, and like skiing. And I was surprised it was covered in snow. I guess I didn't know what to expect. It's a mountaintop. And then the cable cars from there take you up to even higher. At the very tippy top peak, it's the German Freistaat Bayern, Germany's Bavaria, and Austria's Tyrol meet. And the Germans can go to the Austrian side and get lunch, which I did, and the Austrians go to the German side and get lunch over there. So I ate a schnitzel today.
Oh,
you're
a proper schnitzel man.
Schnitzel boy, really.
Schnitzel boy, really.
Yeah, and I ate schnitzels over the highest peak of Austria and Germany.
Amazing.
So
it's a Zahnradbahn, they call it.
That's what they call it.
And it is the same technology as they have in Mount Washington in New Hampshire. Similar kind of thing.
Very cool, but I had a great time. Anyway, that's the only thing I was going to say food-wise. I did a schnitzel boy soldier mountains.
Very nice, very nice. It's not that we don't want to hear you talk about it. It was funny. Well, anyway, we can get into this more in the Deutschland hour because we got a lot to cover here on the American way of the American side of things is what I'm trying to say.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
MLS playoffs have started. It's been a roller coaster for your team. I'm just sitting back. My team is done.
Right.
The biggest news for my team, which is going to be very quick it's Nick Cushing is not getting fired. That's the news. He's going to be in. There was sort of a stern statement from Marty Edelman, Vice President Marty Edelman. Spoke publicly, which he doesn't usually. He's not a very front-facing guy. He's clearly a big deal, and he was very involved in the stadium situation. But he sort of very sternly said that this is not acceptable. The team was going to make sure that we have more resources. That David Lee and Nick Cushing have more resources and are in a position to improve next season. So that means Cushing is in. And then Twitter went pretty nuts. NYCFC Twitter went pretty nuts about that. So yeah, we'll see.
New York Red Bulls, I think most of the playoff teams that missed were all given statements about being like, we're going to invest for next year. I think a lot of clubs got that announcement.
You're in, so everything's going well for you.
An update on the New York Red Bulls on that is that Josef Paulsen from RB Leipzig turned down the opportunity to become a New York Red Bulls reinforcement.
I was just gonna say, I thought I saw him. I saw he signed another contract with Leipzig. Right. Okay. So he was
our big reinforcement.
Send him in the diaspora. What?
I think he was the guy. I think he was supposed to answer that question or whatever. But I mean, all kidding aside, I'll gladly take Josef Paulsen. If he's one of several senior players coming over, I'll take. I think he'd be great. But he
didn't want to go.
Germany. He's going to stay in Leipzig. But I like the idea of that. Maybe ML Forsberg is going to make his way here. Who knows? One can dream. We'll see. But the New York Red Bulls are in the playoffs. We got in 8th place, not 9th place.
Right, and so you hosted against Charlotte, and that went very well.
5-2, I believe, right?
Yeah, something like that. That was kind of a wild game. I watched it. All your strikers, all of a sudden, you couldn't hit the broadside of a barn for most of the season. All of a sudden, everything went in. Anybody.
Elias Manuel scored a hat trick. He hasn't scored all season. Scored a hat trick.
That's never going to happen. I'm just gonna say that's never going to happen again.
Well, the stat is crazy. The amount of people who scored hat tricks in MLS playoffs is like 5, and it's like Landon Donovan, Raul Diaz-Arce, one of the original guys. Usually only got to do it, I think, twice or something, or he scored a hat trick and scored the next game. And great company. I don't remember the other 3 or 4, but they're big players.
Yeah, like you were saying, most of those people then did not score in the next game, and that was true for Elias Manuel as well. Because this next game last night did not go as well. Cincinnati, pretty comprehensive. As much as they try to hype you up as a worthy opponent. I mean, and this is not even. I mean, obviously, blah, blah, there's a rivalry, blah, blah, blah. But, it's not even really personal. It's not even specific to the Red Bulls. So those 8 and 9 teams, whoever had made it in, if we had made it in, questionable, of questionable provenance. We all lost more games than we won, and Cincinnati's been pretty good, but the narrative of the Apple TV coverage was like, no, this is it. Confident. The Red Bulls are now transformed because of this game against Charlotte. The confidence is high, and they're now a totally different team. The regular season stats no longer matter, and they have momentum on their side, but not quite. I mean, there's still a difference. There's still a gap in quality.
Yeah, there's definitely a gap in quality. But in their defense, teams that do really well in the regular season tend to struggle in the playoffs. Last year was not the case.
Yeah.
I think it was the Eastern Conference winner versus the Western Conference winner, and then the host won the final. Last year was not the case. But historically, like you think New England Revolution 2 seasons ago, or was it last season when they won Supporters Shield with a record, and they got eliminated in the first round?
That was New England against us. Thank you for reminding me.
Was that last season or 2 seasons?
That was 2 years ago. That was 2021.
So like I have
right. Well, but I think this new format sort of favors the better team, because you get a few chances. It's a 3-game series, so it's not going to be
the opposite.
How so?
Well, because if Cincinnati beats New York Red Bulls 8-0 in the first game, and the New York Red Bulls holds them to a scoreless draw and beats them on penalties the next 2 games, the New York Red Bulls go through. In a home and away playoff series.
Wait, that's even.
Days,
what you're describing.
Cincinnati would have won that series.
What you're describing now is a tie, right? They would have both won.
No, it goes straight to penalties, 0-0 in the penalties.
Right. But they would have to.
But then you get a W. So if New York Red Bulls wins,
but then they'd still have to win. They'd still have to go back to Cincinnati and win another game.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I just said. They did twice.
Twice. Okay, sure. Yeah, no, that's true. But on the other hand,
encourages a scrappy team to hold tight and wish for the best, whereas a home and away eliminates that. You have to win by a goal aggregate. So you have to be good. You're
but you got to do that. I guess in the one elimination game, you have a bad day, you're done. In this format, I think
blowouts don't matter. They have no value.
Yeah, but blowouts don't matter in the other format either.
Home and away, of course.
Home and away. Well, home and away is not a thing. Home and away hasn't been a thing.
We replaced it with this new series.
No, it used to be, but the last couple of years we had single elimination. That's what I'm talking about.
We had home and away, didn't we? When did we have home and away?
Not recently. Not the last couple of years.
No,
it's been single elimination. This was we had home and away for a long time, until I think either 2 or 3 years ago. And then that was decided that didn't give enough of an advantage to the higher seeds. That made the regular season not meaningful enough, because Supporters Shield winners got knocked, and you had these like really boring first legs where nobody wants to make a mistake, and so they were like, okay, single elimination, the higher seed gets the home game, and that was very exciting. But I think now, that was then deemed to be not enough games in terms of not enough playoff games. It just goes too quickly, I guess. And now we have this. Now this is also a little bit more in line with other American sports, I guess,
right?
Where the NBA or baseball, they have these multi-game series, and however much you win every game doesn't matter. But that's true in those sports for the regular season anyway. Point differential is meaningless in both basketball, football, or baseball.
Well, I'm going to reserve judgment till it's done. I'm very curious.
It's going, yeah.
I'm very curious about it. But I'm just curious. I don't know if it offers. I'm trying to think. I guess the higher seed team does have the potential for 2 home games, so that's an advantage.
Right.
But the counter argument to that is the fact that they're just looking for the W no matter how. So if a team has greater quality like Cincinnati, and you're right, the gap was clear between Cincinnati and Red Bulls. Cincinnati, Red Bulls held the ball and press, but Cincinnati got a gift off a mistake, and then Barreal, 2 different occasions, just had a great. He came in the left and just screened one right in the goal twice. And we don't have a Barreal. We don't have anybody who can do that, but they do. They have a Barreal. And they have a Ocho Costa, and they have a Brandon Vasquez, and they have a Matt Miazga. Yeah, and it was pretty clear, the quality was different because they have a much deeper team. But my thing is since he beats a confident 3-0, and let's pretend we go to the New Jersey, pull them to scoreless draw, beat them in penalties, and then come back to Cincy and do it again, we're through and they're out. Even though
that's
maybe
true.
They had the more confident 90 minutes. I don't know.
Well, I think all else being equal, if you have multiple games, the better team is more likely to advance, in my opinion. I guess we'll see what happens. In this case, so far, all the home teams have won, except St. Louis last night. St. Louis lost pretty big to SKC. I didn't stay up for that one.
4-1. Me neither, because it was like 3:30 in the morning.
That was pretty. Yeah, that was pretty late. I didn't see it, but that was that. I don't know. I mean, I think I can see the pros and cons. It's hard, they keep messing around with the format. Now this is going on forever. Like before, it was like one game and you're done. Now this is going on over 2 weeks. There's 11 days between game 1 and game 2 for Philly and New England. So also, it's extremely stretched out. But again, also I understand they want to have like a couple games for a few nights in a row. It's a little bit more, again, like the NBA on TNT or whatever. You have these like couple games with people chatting in the studio in between. So I don't know. Who knows? I mean, we'll see. I understand the wisdom. I mean, it's like the single game does feel a little flimsy because it is a little random. I mean, famously, Philly still is griping about losing all their people to COVID and losing that game to us in 2021. And if you have a 3-game series, it's a little bit different. But then we're back. But after this first round, we're back to right. It's not like
this is the only time we're doing it.
It's a little bit. This seems a little like we're taking 2 weeks for the first round, and then it's like single game after that. I don't know. It's a work in progress. This doesn't feel like it's the final answer, but I was noticing. No, sorry, go ahead.
The New York Rebels, despite a tough 3-0 loss in Cincy, where Cincy was focused and had their starters this time, not like last time. They won, but we're still in it. We got to go home. And I tell you, I loved how the New York Rebels approached the game. Like, it was a terrible mistake, sure. And Cincinnati's quality won in the end. And people are griping about some foul or some red card. I did watch the game, but I don't know what they're talking about. It must have been there was some sort of foul that the ref missed a card or some crap. I don't want. It was a 3-0 win, so I don't want to dilly-dally over a card. But I love how energetic they were. They were focused. They were there to win. You saw it. I know, like I said, it didn't go their way, but mentally they were there. And I've been seeing that, and I like it. And we still have a home game. So let's go home, and hopefully they've learned their mistakes. Hopefully they do better back passes. Hopefully they'll cover Barreal for next time. Yeah, that's the other part of the 3-game series. You can analyze your teammates a little. You have a little more opportunity to fix your mistakes. You have a third game opportunity to analyze, to know your opponent. And if they go back to Cincy for game 3, they just went to Cincy a week ago or whatever. So it's like they're doing it again, and they're going to be twice as more confident. I don't know. I can offer that. Maybe
they're going to be twice as more confident.
To be like
hashtag science. There was a lot of this kind of talk. I will say I haven't. I mean, I got now that my team's out, I'm getting a full load of the Apple coverage, which funnily I don't feel like I've seen that much of this whole season because I wasn't, if we're playing at home, I'm there. I don't watch a lot of stuff on TV. Right. Away games, I'm watching my team mostly, and then a little bit of everybody else. But and it's, you always talk about the state-run media. Like there's a lot of it's a lot of hyping. I mean, I understand there's some kind of middle, I don't know, there's got to be some kind of a middle ground. I mean, it used to
Also,
be
if I'm SKC, by the way,
SKC.
because of Taylor Twellman being the star analyst, he's a big St. Louis fan and crap. Like every time they broadcast St. Louis, it's always a pro St. Louis broadcast. It's just like, like if I'm SKC,
well, there's definitely a buy. I mean, there's all these Red Bull people. There's no love for NYCFC and any.
I know, but it's a good bias. I'm talking about like the bad.
Ah,
bias.
Okay, the good, right, the correct bias, right? Yeah, that's the general thing, right? We only mind bias when it favors the people we don't like. We don't mind
but you know what I'm
bias.
saying? Like I'm not related to SKC or St. Louis, but if I'm an SKC fan, I'm like, yo, this is
It's
a
not
national
even-
broadcast. You guys can't.
For me, I don't even like. Yeah, I mean, Taylor Twellman wears his heart on his sleeve a little bit. Like he was definitely rooting against Inter Miami pretty aggressively. I felt like for a lot of, he was like kind of standing up for the. I mean, it's an odd. The whole hype train is, I'm pro the league. Obviously, I'm an MLS supporter. I've decided, I made the decision when NYCFC came around to put my Euro snobbery to the side and go all in. And as I've become more familiar, a lot of the quirks and the idiosyncrasies of the league made more sense to me from the inside. Like from the outside, you're like, why are they doing this stuff? It's so weird. And then once you get into it, you understand it more. So I respect the league and what they're trying to do. So that's the premise here. But like, it's a little much. This Apple coverage is a little much. And maybe it's also there's a mandate for during the playoffs, but just the like, everything is sensational and fantastic and such a thing of such a joy. Like these players and like it's just there's just I mean, I guess I noticed it specifically last night in Cincinnati against where the Red Bulls now are like this confident team and it's like, I mean, like I've seen those guys play for a lot of it's like,
they're still missing.
This is not Liverpool. It's not City against. This is not like City against Liverpool here. Like, and I mean, I understand that this is a little bit of compensation for being treated as a second-class citizens on ESPN previously, etc. So they're like, okay, now we have our own coverage. We're gonna treat this, give this the respect it deserves. But it's like, like it's a little heavy-handed. Even.
Well, hold on. It's not. Like ESPN deal around, but the ESPN thoughts, like the paid members of ESPN was also state-run media because it was like what I'm trying to say is with the Apple deal, you don't have to compete with anybody. They can just offer for real, but because it's paid for by the league, it's all that fluff nonsense. Like was it 2 or 3 months ago? 3 analysts were sitting there. I forgot who it was. Sasha Kleshin and Kalen Kyle and maybe someone else. And then it's rivalry week, and then there was the Canadian rivalry, the Texan rivalry, and then I think the New York rivalry. And then the host is like, "What do you think the best rivalry?" The first one's like, "I think it's the Texan rivalry because so and so." And the second person says, "I think it's the Canadian rivalry because so and so." And the third person says, "Well, I think it's the New York rivalry." And I'm like, "Oh wow, how convenient! All of them picked one rivalry." That's not analysis. That's just fluff advertising, right?
Yeah, it feels that way.
A real analysis is this. What do you think the best rivalry is? Oh, Canadian. Yeah, Canadian. Yeah, we agree, and this is why. Like 3 people agreeing there's a real analysis.
What the actual
decision, right? That's analysis. And Apple TV is pretending like we're too stupid to realize that this is an advertisement, not analysis.
Yeah, I mean, it hit me. It just like it got a little much. Even like Kindred de St. Aubin, who I used to like, is now like, I don't know, has jumped on the train where everything. I mean, especially when I guess it was Yearwood, right, who was a late replacement for somebody.
Yeah.
who
Yeah,
made that
he
like back
replaced Daniel Edelman.
who made that who made that error with his header backwards, and she was like, oh, you can just feel this play developing. I'm like, it's just somebody fucking up. Like, it's not like there's no, this is
It's
not
poor quality.
yeah,
soccer.
this is not this is not a moment of brilliance. This is not like, it's like the guy came in late and he screwed up his back pass, and that's what happened. So yeah, I don't know.
it
And
is
this
what
is
it
just
is.
one example. There was just a lot of this, like, I mean, just very flowery language describing these teams and the atmosphere. Everything was just so incredible. And yeah, I don't know. I understand. They want it to be, they want to present it on its own terms. They don't want to constantly be compared to the Prem and Bundesliga, etc. I mean, this happens, by the way. The same thing happened, I noticed, with Derek Ray during the Frankfurt Dortmund game. Was had some kind of a mandate to hype the Bundesliga. He kept saying how the Bundesliga is so great, and
yeah, he does all the time on Twitter too. And then not just him, other people. They're like, we have more goals than blah blah blah.
it's
and
like,
I was like, stop trying to stop it. It
it's
looks
just
sad.
yeah, it's just it's tiresome. It's like,
let people watch.
the harder you try, the less it works, I feel like. I mean, there was this whole, there's so many of these articles now. What's going to happen after Messi leaves? Can we hold on to these? It's like, the harder you try to hype it up, the faker it comes across, in my opinion. I mean,
Apple TV is great in the fact that it's like they care about it, it's available, it's good quality, it's blah blah blah. The only adjustment is, and MLS would have loved for this to be the case, is we wish an independent media company bought the rights to do this for them. Like the Bundesliga and in England, the criticism is strong, and that's real analysis. Like, the refs suck today. Let's talk about it. This didn't work. Like, everything doesn't work. It's talked about. It's discussion. And here in MLS, we need the same thing. They're offering good quality coverage, but they have to pay for it. And MLS always, when they offer media, which they offer often, it's state-run media, and it's just a bunch of fluff crap, and everything's fine, and any real story, like any real criticism, like Bruce Arena or players and that bring the flag up, and all the real stuff that people should be talking about, it's ignored in its entirety. It's like not a topic,
Yeah.
Like whatever, like a Palestinian fan who keeps bringing his Palestinian flag to LAFC every week is now banned from the stadium. You're not gonna
I was wondering about that. Was that affecting our German friend?
It must. There's no flag. You know what that means? That means I'm going to dress head to toe in American flag, and I'm going to walk into a stadium next week. And if they ban me for having the American flag, I'm going to frickin' put them in front of the House of Un-American Activities Committee. HUAC, going to bring it back up.
Well, you heard it here first. This is quite the plan you hatched for yourself.
But I'd call Senator McCarthy back, and I'll be like, "You see this? You can't even have American flags in the stadium anymore." Yeah. All I know is that I'm here in München, and all I can hear about on the train and everywhere is New York Red Bulls and St. Louis City FC, and a bunch of Germans saw I was an American, and they're like, "Was findest du LAFC machen die nochmal diesem Jahr?" And all, everyone's asking me questions.
Really? People have things to say about MLS in Germany?
No, of course
no.
not.
You're joking. Of course you're kidding.
But I will
Nobody
say,
cares.
this is unrelated. This is sort of more for the Germany hour. But it is so cool being in a country where, like, I ride the trains a lot, the subway, and there's just big pictures of the news of players of Frankfurt and Dortmund and Kicker. German soccer is all that exists around here, and I love it. I'm like, hell yeah.
All right.
I'm too normalized following both MLS and the Bundesliga as like minority sports, including MLS, And I'm just I love them in a place where it's like, it's not a minority about it. Everyone around here roots for the Bundesliga. So,
but you have something, we can talk about that more in the Germany hour. We have to own up. We have to own up to now that the regular season is over, we have to own up to our predictions, because we made predictions before the season. And this is it's never fun. I mean, it's fun, I guess, but
I had
it's never
blast.
it's never it's never that successful. What do we like? So let's hear it. What we
Here's
did,
what-
if I
so I'm
remember,
gonna-
if I remember correctly, is we alternated choosing the
Yes.
final standings of each of both the Eastern and Western Conference, right?
Yes. So I'm gonna say the list and then come up with some highlights. So this is I went back and listened to our old episode, a fun listen to now. It's like a little time capsule. We recorded it in February.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't even know what the postseason looked like. We're just like 7 or 8
Yeah.
teams. We're like 8 teams, you think? Turns out it was 9 teams. So who knew? And I'm just going to offer the list. And I'm going to come up with a list of highlights about our discussion. How about that?
Okay, let's hear it.
So let's start in the West. Our Western prediction was, I thought first and foremost it'd be LAFC. Then you thought second place was going to be LA Galaxy.
Yeah, that's not quite how it went.
Yeah, you thought Greg Benny was a good coach.
Really? All right.
Reinforcements, and yeah, that did not work out because we didn't predict that this was going to be the season of the reckoning. If I had to look back on 2023, I would say it's the season of the fan reckoning. The fans strike back. And LA Galaxy was a big example of that. They boycotted the team. They demanded Chris Klein get fired, which he did. He was fired because of their boycott, so it worked, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff was just too distracting. Then I put Austin in third place, which was also totally.
Okay. Yeah.
Austin, as we know, had a bad season, and the head coach came out and said, "Listen, last year was a fluke," or whatever it was he said. And
That's amazing. I mean, we kind of thought that last year, with the so-called underlying numbers, it seemed like they were getting a little lucky. But they not even didn't make the playoffs.
And then you said Seattle at fourth.
Okay.
And then I said FC Dallas at fifth. And then you said SKC at sixth. Then I said St. Louis at seventh. And that was you had a big problem with that. You said that messed up the math. And it was weird. And, but St. Louis is a big surprise to everybody. I didn't know they'd be first. They won first this year.
I mean,
St. Louis,
I thought. I thought the way they constructed their roster was a head scratcher. Starting with Roman Berkey paying so much money for the goalkeeper, that really didn't make any sense to me. But I was obviously totally wrong about that. Like Berkey was great. Berkey, people kept talking about him as a potential MVP candidate as a goalie, and which that didn't happen. But they did real well. I mean, they lost their playoff game.
Yeah, but it's the first of 3, so they haven't
to
necessarily been
SKC. So we'll see how they fare, and maybe they'll go the way of Austin perhaps next year. There's a little bit of that as well, I think. But but credit where credit is due. Bradley Carnell is going to be probably coach of the year. One would
should be, or one of them.
And he's definitely nominated. And congratulations to them. I was totally wrong.
St. Louis, but the playoffs are interesting because this is where it's not Europe anymore. This is where it's like they crush in the regular season, but it's like, okay, cool, but the season is the postseason. Like, and we're trying to win MLS Cup here, and we'll see how they fare in the postseason. We'll see. Like I said, as of this recording, they're 1 game in. They lost 4-1 at home to their cross-state rival, Sporting Kansas City. And then next up, you had Colorado. You said you believe in Robin Fraser.
Yeah.
You were all about Robin Fraser. And that he got fired, but it wasn't really his fault. It's Colorado, it's the whole thing. Then I had San Jose, and I think I pinned him exactly correctly.
You got that right. Yeah, very good.
Total randomly. I'm not taking any credit. I got that right. And then you had Real Salt Lake. Then we had Portland, Minnesota, Vancouver, and then we had Houston Dynamo on the bottom because we're like Ben Olsen. We talked about how Ben Olsen's a terrible hire.
Pretty wrong about. Well, I mean, that's definitely also true. I thought that he would never work again in this league, and that was a sign of low ambition by the owners. Again, completely wrong. They did well. Also won their first game. They played great too. I mean, I haven't seen that much of, but every time I watch them, I'm like, this is a very good team. And
they won U.S. Open Cup this year. They beat Miami.
Yeah, they won a trophy, and they are contenders. Hector Herrera, who seemed like a bust, his first year turned everything around. Their midfield is very good. So yeah, again, I'm happy to eat crow. Is that what we say in America?
Something like that.
And apologize for the disrespect. For the disrespect shown to Ben Olsen and Vancouver too. We were kind of very wrong about, and Vinny Zantini, and I have watched them even less than Houston, so can't really even say what went right there. But yeah, I definitely didn't think they would make the playoffs at all.
Yeah, Vancouver and Houston proved us wrong.
Yeah.
LA Galaxy and Colorado and Austin were very disappointing this year. We were higher on those teams, but the rest were pretty on point. Maybe a spot here, a spot there. We were Portland. We predicted Portland exactly correctly, I think, or in one spot.
All right, very good.
They finished 5th to last. We predicted them 4th to last. We both were just like Portland. We were just like Portland's gonna have a down year, and they did. We were right about that. All right, the East.
The East.
Starting with you, you had Philly winning the East.
Okay.
They were solid. And then this is where I have to eat crow on one or two things. I was really high on Toronto with Bob Bradley, Lorenzo Insigne, and Bernardeschi, and I was like, they're coming with a vengeance. I was just way off.
They did not come with anything.
They didn't come with anything. And then you had
0.65 points per game for Toronto.
You had Atlanta in 3rd place, and you thought Joseph Martinez was going to have a big season for them. He left.
Joseph Martinez? No, he wasn't there anymore.
I think the beginning of the season he was. Wasn't that a summer transfer? Or am I wrong?
I don't think so. I think he's been gone for a little while.
Maybe I misremembered that. But Atlanta 3rd, Revs 4th, and then I said because of Bruce, and I had a whole believe in Bruce and Bob. Bruce and Bob will they are going to be the kings of the postseason. He was
mowed down by his assistants in the most Shakespearean of ways. Yeah.
As far as we know, we'll never know.
Still don't know what happened exactly.
What's crazy about MLS State Run Media? They 100% know the full story, and they have no interest in sharing any of it. No matter how juicy it is, or good the gossip is. Like, we know, but we are quashing the interesting stories. We're only offering you fluff. All the interesting, juicy stories, we're trying to quash all that. Go call the Sun in England and tell them that's how they run media. Anyway, I love walking around Munich because all the local newspapers have these crazy gotcha headlines, right? Like, it's like what was it? There was one today. It was like a picture of someone. I don't remember, but it's typical stuff that's like it's all clickbait. It's like, can you imagine killed 13 people? It's like a picture of a grandma. So I guarantee you that's not the real story. It's probably one of the victims or something. But anyway, MLS, be sensationalist about your negative stuff, not your positive stuff. That's all I want from you. That's all I want.
All right.
Okay, and now then you had NYCFC and I had Red Bull New York at 5th and 6th. And I was saying that this was a very low conservative pick. I was like, if Dante Van Zier is the player we think he is, then we're going to win the Supporters Shield.
Well, you were actually pretty close in the end, but
yeah, I mean, I was only one or two spots off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I was 2 spots off. I said 6th place would be low, but we got 8th place, and we're happy for it. Dante was a bust. Elias Manuel was a bust, despite the fact they scored a hat trick randomly last week. And then Tommy B. Then we had FC Cincy at 7th, and we're like, they're going to be good. They have a fun front three. We didn't predict how good they would be. Then I said Crew with Nancy, and that was pretty accurate. Crew was a little higher.
Yeah.
Then we had Nashville, Miami, Orlando, and for the bottom trio, we had Montreal, DC, and Chicago. And the reason we had Montreal down there is because they lost Nancy, they lost Georgi
Yeah.
Mihailovic. So our analysis was spot on with Montreal.
Yeah,
and then
it sounds
Eastern
like we
Chicago-
got the playoff teams mostly, right? Except for Toronto.
Yeah, except for Toronto. Yeah. So our East was actually not too shabby. But the reality is, since the Orlando City Crew and Philly were the top four, we had Philly, Toronto, Atlanta Revs in the top four. But Orlando City and Crew did great. Philly ebbed and flowed a little this year, but they're still a strong team. Revs had to go down a couple spots after they lost Bruce. And Atlanta, Nashville, and RB New York. And then I guess we had Charlotte. Yeah, our East was actually not too shabby.
Yeah, going through this again, it's not as bad. Not as bad as I thought. I definitely remember thinking Toronto were going to be bad. I mean, I didn't think they were going to be this bad, but like that had sort of dumpster fire written all over it. But
we didn't know anything about the playoffs, which are funny. And we also, when we talked about Miami, our full analysis was like
we had no idea.
Higuain, and Phil Neville was doing a really good job, and no one could predict.
No. Higuain retired last season.
Right,
We knew he was. Well, we didn't know Messi was going to be there. Yeah.
Our Miami analysis was unrelated to
we don't know. We don't. Yeah, it's like big things have happened, but yeah. I mean, my team. I guess I was confident about my team. I thought we would. I didn't know the reinforcements would take so long to arrive. Anyway, we'll see.
Okay, Bjorn, who's going to win MLS Cup this year?
Oh,
Give me your full, unbiased opinion. Your team is out. You're watching all the coverage here.
It's hard to say. I think Cincinnati is really the best team. I mean, by quite a bit, I would say. I don't really. I mean, you never know is the answer, of course. But I think all these East teams have some quality, but they also have some flaws, other than Cincinnati. And same in the West. I think LAFC has struggled. I think their midfield is not as good as it's been. So yeah, okay. If I have to pick one, I'll pick Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean I'm always a fan of the Supporters Shield winner being dominant in the postseason, because to me that means all is right in the world, right? So, they worked hard, and they also, since had a great turnaround. They were they won Wooden Spoon 2-3 seasons in a row.
Oh, yeah, they were bad.
And I love the fact that they turned it around under Pat Noonan and with Brandon Vasquez and stuff, and and I love it. So if they win, it's a new team winning MLS Cup, which I'm all about. So, good luck, Cincy. Although I do want to still knock them out. I still want to knock them out of the playoffs. But if we don't knock them out of the playoffs, then make sure we were beaten by the best, and you go off and you win the MLS Cup.
Yeah, I mean, beyond that, I think they're the team that really stands out over everybody. Everybody else, is like
LAFC's on, though. It's like postseasons. They're not perfect. They've been 2 steps forward, 1 step back all season, but it's the postseason. They got big game players. They won 5-2, right? Did they also have a big win?
Well, I just don't think they are. They're not defensively solid enough to really pick them. I think they could. They could easily get score. Somebody could score 3 on them easily at some point, and then that might not be. They may not be able to recover. I don't know. I don't think they are as reliable. I mean, yeah, anybody, it's once you get to the single game thing, it becomes a little bit more of a crapshoot, but Philly, I just don't trust them. I don't trust them defensively.
Philly are playing with a chip on their shoulder. They've been so close.
Philly are so dirty. They're such a dirty, dirty team. They knocked out, like they targeted Carlos Heel. They knew he suffered injury. He was like, I think he was knocked out of the game 15 minutes in. I can't root for those guys.
They're playing. They've in the last few seasons, they've been close to the cup. They've never won it. As far as like clubs right now that deserve the MLS Cup, Philly's top of the list. So they're playing with a chip on their shoulder. I think they're a contender as well. And Houston, man. Houston won a cup already. They're coming. I think they're also a contender. I think your Cincinnati choice is solid, but I could see any of those 4 teams winning: LAFC, Houston, Cincy, or Philly. So we'll see. Lass uns sehen. Bis nächste Woche. We'll see if the Red Bulls are still in with a shout or they've been eliminated by next week, I believe, right? Because the game's on Sunday. And if Cincy wins it again, that ends the 2 out of 3 game series, right? Because 2 winners finish the series while there'd be a handful of third games. I don't know. We'll see how the playoffs turn out. We'll see.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, I'll see you on the other side.
Cheers. I will see you on the other side, my friends.
Right.
Keep
Sounds
watching
good.
that MLS. So maybe one day my joke about a bunch of people in Munich approaching me about the league is not a joke and becomes reality.
Yeah. I was like,
Tell the MLS.
you
tell the MLS.
you definitely sold it. You definitely sold it in a way that I was like, really? Oh, wow.
There is a big American thing happening in Germany right now, but I'll say that for the Germany now. So stay tuned.
All right. Well, there he was, the man himself. As you can see from my, I'm wearing the same outfit. This was earlier today. We've done it past couple of weeks. We did the day before today. It was just a few hours ago. So this is almost live. Anyway, a couple of things we want to catch up here on the chat. Hans, Daniel Young was wondering about our outdoor hockey. MetLife Stadium is hosting outdoor hockey. That's I didn't even know that. I'm not a big hockey guy, and he would like us to enlighten him on the hockey culture in Europe. I'm not the best person to help with that. I know it's a big thing in Germany. My ice hockey, they call it ice hockey, as opposed to field hockey. My brother actually is a good field hockey player. He was on the in Germany's Olympic team, but not for ice hockey. Ice hockey is pretty big. There's a pro league in Germany, so there's definitely people get into it. But I am not a big. I can't really speak to that. Hans Wolf was wondering if Stefan forgot to pay the Austrian border tax on his way to Austria. Is in the EU now. There's no more borders. We're all one big family now in Europe. So no, not a problem. David Riccio is suggesting we do a meetup, perhaps during Christmas time. That'd be very lovely to see. We'll pick a Bundesliga game maybe, or perhaps MLS Cup. We'll meet up for a viewing party. Can't be a live game for a while. My team's not playing. I mean, the Red Bulls have a home game, but that might be it. I mean, let's be honest. David was also wondering what the atmosphere was going to be like in New Jersey. Yeah. Are they going to show up? Are people going to come? It's a weekend game, I think. Hopefully they'll get a good crowd. We were talking about the Apple coverage. Yeah, I don't know. Last night it rubbed me a little bit wrongly. I was just so excited. But anyway, I have a hard time with a lot of commentating, not just in MLS, also Bundesliga. You know how I feel about Derek Ray. David Riccio saying every time Derek Ray yesterday said, Die Schwarz-Gelben, he wanted to hit himself in the head with a claw hammer. Yeah, I don't know. There's a guy on the Apple coverage who has a similar, he doesn't like do the German enunciation in the same way, but he also has this like breathless kind of carnival. I forget his name. Is it Callum Williams? Maybe I have to look it up. David Riccio likes Kevin Hatchard, who's a Bundesliga commentator. The playoff format, I was going to say, I checked it. The 2019 was the last time we had home and away playoff series. In 2020, the season was shortened because of COVID, and that's also when 18 teams made it, much like this year. And that's when single elimination started. NYCFC got famously eliminated by Orlando in that weird penalty game shootout where Rodrigo Schlegel went in goal at the end. So that was rough. So yeah, since then it's been single elimination. Now we have this sort of 3-game first round, and then we're back to single elimination. This first round is going to take us till Thanksgiving with all the the different games and rest days, etc. And then it's going to be semis and final is going to happen very quickly. The final's on December 9th. I'm sure this is going to change again next year. This is constantly a work in progress, the MLS playoff format. I wanted to talk a little bit more about Nick Cushing, the coach, NYCFC's coach, who's not getting fired. In general, I've been talking about it a lot. I don't think it was entirely his fault. We had a very incomplete roster this whole season. People came very late, and I guess the question that I have and the thing that I'm wondering is, a lot of the international back up for a second. NYCFC used to have a very good track record for international signing, sort of above average, I would say, in MLS, where they found a lot of good players from all over the world, and this was always credited to the CFG scouting network, just being able to find kind of bargains from other leagues, and there were more hits than misses. But the last season or two, I don't know if the trend has reversed, or so. If you're saying it's not the coach's fault, if behind the scenes people are saying, okay, it's not Nick Cushing's fault that we missed the playoffs this year, but then you have to ask questions about the recruitment. There's a lot of international players. Brian Cufré came from La Liga. Richie Ledesma, he's American, but he came from Holland, from PSV. Thales Magno, big talented. A lot of these guys have not gotten a lot of time down the stretch, and so if you're not saying this is Nick Cushing's fault, then it's almost worse in the big picture, in the sense that is the recruitment off? If all these guys, if you start Kevin O'Toole from New Jersey over your international signing that came from La Liga, something's off. So we will see if that can get fixed. But I think there will be a lot of turnover. I mean, the player who made the most impact, almost, Andres Pereira, he's on loan from Philly, and he ain't coming back. I don't think they will. We won't get to keep him. So anyway, that's my Nick Cushing take. I'm. A lot of people wanted him fired. People were on Twitter saying they're going to cancel their season tickets now that the coach was not fired. I don't know. I'm not one to call for people's jobs so easily. Like I said, he was not dealing with a full roster for most of the year, and so we'll see how next season goes. Anyway, that is it for the Deutschland Hour. We have more for you about the Bundesliga. I watched really one of the worst games I've seen on TV in a while. So if you want to hear about that, see me on the other side. Stefan will be back too. And nice to see you all on Monday night, Schnitzel Boys night. See you on the other side. Good night.